go back to school. It's never too late. The fact that you might have kids, I was a mom and I was putting myself through school. I mean, mind you, I had a job that required me to get up at 6 a.m. in the morning, get my kids ready to go to school and then be on the computer until 5, and then from 6 to 10 be on the computer because of school. And I mean, mind you, college classes at that level, are not easy, right? You still have homework. And what time was I going to do homework? Well, maybe after midnight, because my daughter also required time. She needed it, a mom as well.
Hello, today we have a special guest, Evelyn Zartner, that's going to be talking a little bit about her story, what she's doing now in her current role. So I'm excited to have her today. Evelyn, tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are you? What do you do today? I know we've had a good partnership now for a couple of years, but we'd love to know a little bit about your story. But more importantly, what are you doing today?
Thank you, Josh. It is a pleasure to be here with you guys today. Again, my name is Evelyn Zartner. I am originally from El Salvador, and I came to the U.S. when I was 10 years old. And I grew up in Koreatown, which is located near downtown Los Angeles. I went to both middle school and private high school near the same area. And I am blessed to say that in 2007, I graduated and obtained my bachelor's degree in international business. And in 2021, I graduated and obtained my master's degree in business administration and human resources. And I am blessed to say that I owe who I am now to my wonderful mother. Amazing woman who provided everything that we needed since we were little. I grew up in a very limited resource household, low income, obviously, led by a single mother. And I am currently a community development relationship manager for a financial institution, as you know. And I lead the West Coast for community development lending, outreach, and volunteered hours and activities, which is what I love the most because I could see and impact the community where I work, live, and thrive.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. You came from a different country, so I'm assuming you didn't know the language when you came here.
Exactly.
El Salvador, right?
Right.
Oh, wow. So all the way from El Salvador to now here in California, taking care of all of the West Coast, right? In your current position, that just shows you that you can do it. You started from essentially nothing, right? Not knowing the language, had to come up in high school, middle school here, went and got your bachelor's, went and got your master's, and did it with limited resources, did it with single mother. So wow, that itself is a great story right there. That shows you that there's a lot of limitations, right? But you were still able to do it, and you're thriving now. You're doing amazing work.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. I think the best thing is hearing those type of stories. Whenever we bring someone on here, I think my question for you would be like, how did you end up in this role? Like, was there some mentors along the way? Did you get some advice, or like, what was that push for you to keep going, finishing school, getting your master's, and all of that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that mentors and not just managers and bosses, but I would say mentors along the way have been the key to my success. You cannot do it without anybody, coaching you and showing you the way, basically, right? But I owe that to a lot of my mentors along the way, definitely.
If you could remember a moment, like, okay, I remember someone, maybe they corrected you, maybe they told you something, maybe you didn't like it at the moment, but you think about it now, you're like, oh, wow, that was so true. That was a really good piece of advice. Is there anything, maybe one thing, two things that you remember from your past that someone told you and it's helped you a lot today?
Yeah, definitely. Like I mentioned before, I got my bachelor's back in 2007, right? That sounds with my age. But what about 2021, I got my master's back in 2021, right before the pandemic got started. And the reason why it was because it was an advice from one of my mentors to go back to school and try to, just learn a little bit more. And I mean, it was halfway actually. So it only took me a couple of more classes for me to actually, finish and graduate. So that was amazing.
Yeah, and you have kids, you have a career, you have a family, and you still did it, right?
That's right. Yeah, I am also a mother, so
Yeah,
it was challenging, but I am blessed to say that I have a support system who
mhm.
also helped out along the way.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
really really cool to hear because I know there's probably a lot of young people. I would categorize them as Gen Z millennials watching, and they're in that part of their life where they're about to graduate, they're gonna graduate, they already graduated, they started their careers, and they're probably thinking of what does the next 5, 10, 15 years look like for them. In your current role that you're at right now, would you say that's something that since you from when you graduated high school or college, you're like I knew I was gonna do that, or was it like a lot of little things along the way, different jobs that maybe you didn't like, or it wasn't ideal at the moment but led to where you're at now? Or
I would say that since I graduated college, I was very involved in church and my community since my younger years. So I
Mhm,
think that giving back to my community and being there to help out with many different things
mhm,
along, the community activities in church, I think led me to always get involved in community development and outreach activities and volunteering at work. So I think that that led me to where I am now.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think all those things are amazing. You're able to go the extra mile, give back to your community, which is essentially what you're doing now in your current role today. I know, like I said, a lot of our audience is young audience that we reach out to. A lot of questions that we get a lot of the time is like in regards to housing, buying a house, buying the first house, and someone that's Gen Z, millennials, thinking about like, man, 5 years from now, a couple years from now, I want to get my first house, right? Because that's like that's the American dream, right? Getting your first house after getting your first job, right? Your first career, graduating college, or whatever it may be. What advice or what tips would you say, or what would be like the first couple of things someone should think of before stepping into buying that house, before falling in love and going on Zillow and looking at houses?
I mean, sky is the limit, right? Everybody could dream. I mean, when I wanted to buy a house, I remember I used to drive, along all those, signs, right? It's for sale, for sale, for sale, and just look at them and just always kept that target in the back of my brain. You're always allowed to dream, right? I mean, the first step, obviously, financially, it's to get pre-qualified, right? Because you want to know how much you can afford. I
Mhm,
mean, I might like that mansion right across the street, but I might not be able to afford it, right? The bank is never going to lend me money for it. Um, but yet, get pre-qualified. Maybe your brother would go into the application to make the income a lot stronger and be able to
mhm,
buy units instead of just maybe a single family home. When I first bought my property, it's a duplex. I mean, I went
mhm,
in with my sister, my mom, my dad, and everybody. I mean, we qualified and we got it done, right? So always think about who is your support system around you and who can
mhm,
help you, pre-qualify for that specific, property that you guys might want to buy. Maybe it's units, like I mentioned.
mhm,
And if you do qualify for a single, residence, okay, that's fine, but
mhm,
always ask, get as much as information as you can. There's always tools and resources that will help you get more knowledge about a mortgage
mhm.
or what banks might need to look for, or you might need to qualify with. So that would be my piece of advice.
That's amazing. You said you went in with your family. I'm Latino. My parents are both immigrants. I have a lot of friends that are also Latino, and I think one thing that the biggest thing when it comes to us Latinos is we have a lot of pride, right? And I think that what you said right there about going in with your family and buying a property is difficult for a lot of people because they want to do it their own, right? They want to get their own. I
Exactly.
want to get my own single family home. Like, what? How did you guys figure that out? Like, that's interesting because that's something that me and my brother have talked about getting instead of each of us getting our own home, which is going to require more money on our own end, down payment. It's a
Exactly.
lot harder
Yeah,
when
it's
you
a lot
combine
harder.
incomes. It's
Yeah, I mean, look at the economy now. I mean, I'm not an economist by all means. I'm not
mhm,
giving advice, but the interest rates are so high and
mhm,
prices are so high that by the time you look at it, as much as money as you might want to make or can
mhm,
make,
mhm,
it's challenging to only do it on your own. So when we look at, when I look back and I looked at my sisters, trying to go in with me and, hey, we were short for escrow, hey, who can throw more money in, and I mean, that is the reality.
Yeah.
Yes, we
Mhm.
had to pay some credit cards on the side, and again, for escrow and closing costs and all those fees that you got to pay. I
Mhm.
mean, it was a blessing to just be in it together,
Mhm.
and although I, this is something personal, but although I might be one of the people entitled, I mean, looking back, I'm never going to say, oh, this is mine,
Mhm.
no, this is ours,
Mhm.
and you got to have that mentality, because that's how you create wealth, for your family and for your
Mhm.
loved ones. And if we ever sell that property, I mean, mind you, it's almost at 50% loan to value. What's going to happen with the other 50? Well, maybe my sisters want to get their own house one day, and maybe we can get that money and divide it among all of us and
Mhm.
get more properties when it makes sense,
Mhm.
so that's our mentality, and that's how our thought process,
That's amazing mentality, because I think it's a mentality that more people should have, is being in unity especially with family. That if you
Exactly.
can't do it alone, pick each other up, and like you said in escrow, who has more money? We need some more money.
Exactly. Yeah.
Some unexpected costs come up, right? I think a lot of people
Exactly.
don't think about it. I know a family that's in the process of buying a home right now, and they found out the house had mold. They needed termites, and it's like $1,000 there, $5,000. It adds up. It adds
Exactly.
up, and that's really really cool. For you personally, why did you and your family decide to make that step? You mentioned that word, building wealth, buying this. What you personally? Why might you think it's better to, instead of doing the single family home, but doing the multifamily, right? That route for you personally. What was the pro or con for you?
To have family close by,
Hmm.
for me, my little ones were little,
Hmm.
and having mom in the back house, it's always a blessing,
Hmm.
right? Making sure that my mom and my dad uh, had a roof over their head. It might not be the best looking house or the best neighborhood, in
Mhm.
Beverly Hills, but I mean, mine is not in Beverly Hills, but it's in a good area.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure that I'm building that wealth and legacy towards my kids as
Mhm.
well.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I really love that story, and I think it's something that inspiration for others that are probably watching, and they have their own family here with them, and they probably can't buy the house by themselves, maybe not yet, but if they can do it with family, that's always going to be a really good
Exactly.
option. Do it together. That a lot of people do, but I think it's really really good at example of how to get into your first home
Exactly.
and start building wealth. Now, when it comes to finances, like we talked about buying a house, and obviously your finances have a lot to do with it. When you go and step into that bank and they do that pre-qualification, they're going to check your credit, they're going to check everything. What is the first step someone can do to improve their finances if for whatever reason, they apply to their first credit card, they get denied. They apply to get a car, they get denied. What's the first thing that someone should do and check?
I would say that, you got to have a target goal, right?
Mhm.
You got to have a goal. And again, at the same time, you got to have a budget. Budgeting, it's the key. Why? Because if you don't budget, I mean, I'm old school. I write down every little thing, right, on a worksheet that I have on my personal computer. And I think that when I don't do that, I feel that my money is just flying out the windows, right? I feel that I don't have control over
Mhm.
it. But I think that if you manage your money really tight,
Mhm.
um, you have a better sense of where your money's going. Something that we teach in our budgeting class at work is pay yourself first. And what does that mean? That if your goal is saving an X number of dollars at the end of the month,
Mhm.
you should do that first. As soon as you get your paycheck, set that money aside. Why? Because if that goal is buying a house, you have to stick to the budget and stick to the numbers,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm. Budgeting. That's a very important, financial term. I would say maybe someone that's watching that's like never budgeted before, doesn't even know what that means. How would you explain? Like, what is included in a budget for someone that this is the first time they heard this before?
Okay, for example, this is how much I make, this is how many bills I have to pay at the end of the day, this is how much money comes in, and this is how much money I have to, goes out, because I have to pay all these bills, right, that
Hmm.
I have next to me. And then at the end of the day, how much money do I have left? Do I
Hmm.
have something that will make sense? Because again, your budget and whatever goes in your pocket or your savings at the end of the day has to make sense, right? It has to be doable. It has to be
Realistic,
realistic, right? You can't say I'm gonna save $5,000 a month if you don't have $5,000 a month because you gotta pay your bills, you gotta buy food, you gotta pay your rent or the mortgage, right? But it has to be realistic.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that's super, super important, like you said. And budgeting is like me personally, I budget like you. Sometimes I do the old school fashion way. Sometimes I do like there's a lot of apps available, right?
Exactly.
That'll do the work for you. But I feel like I want to be part of the work at least so I can feel and see what's going on with my finances. But last question. I would love to know if money, just don't even think about it. Where would you want to live? Dream house. You mentioned Beverly Hills a lot. I don't know if that's where you would want to live.
No, I don't live in.
What would be your dream house if you had to choose? What does that look like?
If I had to choose, I mean, I would say Stevenson's Ranch.
Mm.
I love that area a lot. I have some friends that live there. I thought about it right before the pandemic to flip a current property that I have to go there, which made sense because the equity was going to be significant. But that will be, I think, maybe the area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. That's and then in that house, what type of cars in the garage? What's your dream car?
Oh, wow. My husband just got it.
Oh, okay.
It's a 1966 Mustang.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a classic car. Oh. Or maybe one of those bugs. I don't know.
Yeah.
Volkswagen, right?
Oh, that's really, really cool.
Unless you let me pick, and then it would be a brand new Tahoe or Escalade, right? For the kids. And I to drive, for me to drive around. But no, not really. I currently drive a minivan. I like to stick to my budget. Yeah.
Yeah, those are minivans. You can't go wrong with minivans.
No,
when you have
can't.
kids.
Mostly when the kids are gonna trash it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Once they get older, then maybe you get a nice. Maybe that's when you get the Escalade.
Exactly.
So you mentioned your mom. You grew up with a single mom, and she did a lot for you guys, and she was your inspiration. What is one piece of advice or something that she would always tell you growing up, whether it was in English or Spanish? Something she would always tell you.
She would always tell me to go for it. Mija, que no haya nada que te detenga, que no haya nada que pare. Tu sueño va a ser tu sueño. Lo que usted logre y su educación, nadie se la puede robar. She would always tell me that, nobody can steal my degree from me. Nobody can steal that high school diploma from me. And I think that really stuck in the back of my brain because I saw others leaving, staying behind basically. And I left a lot of my friends behind. But again, that's going to happen in life. If person A or person B doesn't want to do it or cannot do it, that's fine. But you got to be able to just continue and move on and just go for it.
Yeah, definitely. Growth means that sometimes you'll lose things, but you also gain new things as well.
Exactly.
Whether it's friends, experiences, whatever it may be. Now that you are a mother yourself and you have kids, what is something you tell your kids now? It's some advice or something to push them so that they themselves can be successful.
I repeat them the same thing. There's no limit. I mean, sky is the limit. You want to be a doctor. I mean, mind you, I have a 9-year-old and a 7-year-old. I tell them, you want to be an architect. You want to be a doctor. You want to be an artist, because they draw a lot, right? And obviously they're kids right now. I tell them, there's no limit. It doesn't matter what others do in your classroom. To mommy, it matters what you do, how you behave today. Because, to me, I want them to be successful and I want them to be even more, more than me, obviously, right? If I got to be a banker at a bank, I want them to be a doctor, right? Obviously, I have that motherly, heart, right? But I tell them all the time, sky is the limit. You continue, you move on, you thrive every day. You're beautiful. You can do it. Give them that push that they need.
Mm-hmm. I think that from there, it reminds me of the power of, our voice, our tongue, and it can really speak life into someone. So I think it's really, really important.
Exactly.
So Evelyn, before we finish, last thing, is there any piece of advice or anything you would want to share with someone that's watching that's maybe, like I said, like millennial, Gen Z age, and they're, just want to hear from someone, a professional like yourself, who not only went to got her master's, got her bachelor's, got her master's, is working and doing great work in the community, working in an amazing financial institution. Anything you would want to tell them in regards to the career, anything like that. And from what I'm hearing, you have multiple properties as well too. So that's really good.
A piece of advice would be to don't stop. Don't stop dreaming. If their target is to have a dream job of whatever that it is that they want to do, go back to school. It's never too late. You know, the fact that you might have kids, I was a mom and I was putting myself through school. I mean, mind you, I had a job that required me to get up at 6 a.m. in the morning, you know, get my kids ready to go to school and then be on the computer until 5. And then from 6 to 10, be on the computer because of school, right? And I mean, mind you, college classes at that level, you know, are not easy, right? You still have homework. And what time was I going to do homework? Well, maybe after midnight, because my daughter also required time. You know, she needed it a mom as well. And my family, I needed family time as well. And I think that you gotta continue and don't stop. And if you, how can I say it? If you dream about it and just let me share something really quick. In the back of my bedroom door, I had like a little billboard, right? Like a huge sticky note, right? A poster with the 5 top things that I wanted it to accomplish. Okay. And I also do it. I mean, lose 5 pounds this week, or, you know, go to the market, or whatever it is that I don't want to forget about. Right. But number 1 for me was, when I went back to school, was do my homework, get that MBA. Why? Because when I realized that I lost on a huge opportunity because I did not have that piece of paper with me, but although I had the experience and the qualifications to go for it, it was an aha moment. So there might be a lot of aha moments that people have throughout their lives. Nothing is easy. We're always going to have obstacles. We're always going to have something that, if this happens, or but this happened, and if this happens, but this happened to me. I mean, life is just going to happen. It's only going to be up to you to get up in the morning and be determined to go and get what you want. So that's pretty much the key to it. You just got to have that drive for what you want in life.
No, that's a very powerful way to end this. Be able to share like your story and that aha moment, and don't stop and keep going. For someone that's young, especially if they're just starting, right? They have so much time to be able to do it. And if you're able to do it with kids, with already working, that already, to me, it sounds almost impossible, but you're able to do it. So it's possible. You're able to do it.
Possible.
Yeah, very possible. You're a living example of that. So I think that's a really great story. I think we covered a lot of good things today, where we talked about a little bit about yourself. You came from El Salvador, you came here to a new country, didn't know the language, but now you're doing amazing things, and you gave a lot of great advice, and you did it together with your family, you did it united, and now you have your own family. So that's awesome to hear. And you got that 1966 Mustang, maybe the Escalator, the Beetle soon.
Maybe.
Once your kids grow up. But thank you, Evelyn, for sharing.
You.
I think this was a really good episode and podcast where we showed a little bit about your story, and a lot of good tips and advice for someone young that's watching, or even someone that maybe isn't younger or in school, but they're in your position. They already have kids, they already have that career, and they want to make that change in their career. Well, they can do it just like you did. Or they want to get that MBA. It's never too late.
It's possible.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much. And if you enjoyed this, if you enjoyed this workshop or in this podcast with Evelyn, please let us know in the comments below if you have any questions. Share it with your friends and family. Thank you again, Evelyn. And we'll see you guys in the next one. Be sure to check out Evelyn's workshop on credit. Thank you and take care.